Hello, Frizzle Fleet. I have read 17 books, and it is time to rank them from the least fun reading experience to, at the very end, my favorite reading experience. Starting at the bottom, number 17, How to Write Sci-Fi Fantasy by Orson Scott Card. In 2 words, this book is historical nonfiction. This is a nonfiction writing instructions book, and I had been curious about it because I'd heard people mention it, and usually their review was positive. And then once I started reading this book, I realized that everyone who had said that to me was over the age of 40. And, yep, that is how this book feels. For context, this book was written like 30 years ago. And when this fact really finally hit home for me was when the book was going on for pages and pages about the different types of faster than light travel and the different nuances between those. And I kept thinking like, it could just reference us to a Wikipedia page about it. And then I remembered this book was written before Wikipedia. And then everything made so much more sense about how the book was written. If you're looking for current sci-fi fantasy advice, I highly recommend the playlist of Brandon Sanderson lectures. I rated this book 2 stars. In spot number 16, we have Squirrel Girl Universe. In 4 words, this book is bombastic, squirrely science friends. The people who need to read this novel are the people who love Squirrel Girl comics. For context, Squirrel Girl is a Marvel superhero, very C-list. It's okay if you've never heard of her. Her tagline is that she has the powers of a squirrel and a girl, meaning that she's really good at computer science and also making friends. She's actually really competent of a hero and can take down people that really powerful heroes otherwise struggle with. Through, of course, the power of friendship usually. This book is campy, goofy, wild, high energy, and above all, silly. I had a fun time with it, but I'm not the biggest fan of absurdist comedy, so it didn't super click with me. I rated it 3 stars. Spot number 15 is Sunreach. And in 4 words, this book is rom-com-y sci-fi, inactive protagonist. That is a little harsh, but let me elaborate. This is a novella that takes place in the Skyward series. And I had some serious problems with the way that the main character, FM, was handled throughout this story. Because she wasn't really making any big decisions in this story. She was just mostly going along with big decisions other people were making. She isn't a bad character, the story isn't bad, but I was so annoyed with this novella. Because right next to FM in this story is the character of Jorgen, who is making complicated decisions and going through a lot of emotional turmoil in this book, and I just kept thinking, why isn't he the main character? Why did we have to get it from FM's perspective if she's just Jorgen's sidekick in this story? Or why couldn't we have changed the story so she was more in charge and was able to actually, make decisions to affect the plot? It was finally written, but 3 stars. I love this water bottle so much. I love the shape of the spout. It's easy to drink from. I love that it never leaks. Not sponsored, I just wanted to give a plug for hydration in general. Everyone should find a water bottle that they can love. In number 14, we have Ordinary Monsters. And in 2 words, this book is Gothic X-Men. Do you like the story of X-Men for little children with really weird powers being discriminated against and having to fight monsters at an incredibly young age, as sometimes the adults in their life are highly suspect? This is the book for you, except it's also Gothic, takes place in the late 1800s. Greatest weaknesses? The audiobook? I love audiobooks. There are many people who have loved this audiobook. I will say the narrator is completely competent. He reads 90% of the sentences in this book flawlessly. The vibes are great. But the narrator is British. And there are many main characters in this book who are American. This guy's American accent drove me insane. I don't have super strong opinions on American accents, but I do have some opinions on American accents, and I think that was too many opinions to enjoy this book. Now my favorite part of the series was the moral complexity. I kept thinking, okay, I've got it. This is the villain, these are the heroes. Good versus evil. And then we would have a little bit more information and nuance presented to us, and I would realize it's a little bit more complicated than that. And then I would think, okay, I got it now. And then we would have another reveal, and it's like, oh, wait, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And then we'd have another reveal, and this book gets so incrementally twisty. The reveals were surprising me to the end, and it kept me definitely on the edge of my seat, wondering who we could really trust, because it felt like every twist would change my opinions on who was trustworthy and who wasn't. I rated Ordinary Monsters 3 stars. In spots 10 through 13, we have the 2012 run of Hawkeye comics by Matt Fraction. In one word, these books are minimalist. If you're curious, I think this is also the run of comics that the TV show is most closely based on. Here is the real reason why I love this run of comics. It's the color scheme. The colors are mostly done by Matt Hollingsworth, and he deserves some major awards, I think. Because for every issue, there's just like 5 basic colors that are just reused in all the panels, and these panels are just so beautiful. I could just stare at these comics all day. I love the interesting way that color is used in these comics. And beyond that, the storyline is also good. I would say it's also pretty minimalist in that there isn't a lot of plot beats happening, but honestly, I think that is perfect for comic books. It's a lot harder to prop up a convoluted plot, I think, in a comic book where you just have less story real estate than in a huge novel. The best part of these comics is the relationship between Hawkeye Clint Barton and Hawkeye Kate Bishop, as she is his protege, and also really coming into her own in this book. There are lots of issues in this run where she just pops off to California and does her own adventures for a while. Lots of fun, simple story, beautiful coloring. I rated these comics on average 3.5 stars. In numbers 8 and 9, we have And Then She Vanished and Shadows of London, which are books 1 and 2 in the Joseph Bridgeman series. In one word, these books are, I want to use a word, but I know I already used it for these books' single review video. 1 second, I'm just going to plug that word into a thesaurus real quick and pick another word to say. But if you want a more thorough take on these books, you can find my dedicated review video to them, which I'll link in the footnotes of this video. Speculative. See, that was a good word, because these books are both sci-fi, as in speculative genre, and they speculate and are thoughtful about things. First, I read book 3 of this series, and if that seems weird to you, then you haven't been following along enough. These books are about Joseph, a natural time traveler, and every book is him going on a new quest, usually one that has a strong emotional connection to him. Of all the time travel books I've ever read, these are my favorites. I love the simple yet occasionally philosophical writing style, I love the characters, and I love how poignant and emotional the plots get. My favorite is book 3, mostly I think because it did interpersonal conflicts the best of any of the books. I rated these books 4 stars. Numbers 5 through 7 are 3 of the Hidden Legacy novels. And in 2 words, organized drama. These books are an urban fantasy series where some people are born with magic and they immediately become the political giants of the world. Our main character is Catalina Baylor, who has the power to make people fall in love with her. Her problem is that she has trouble not using her power accidentally, which gives these books the most interesting drama of Catalina versus Catalina, where her biggest enemy is her magic accidentally popping out and making someone besotted with her. And while she's trying to wrestle and occasionally actually use her magic, she's also solving murder cases, etc. These books have a very solid romance subplot, a tight-knit family group, and a very competent and likable heroine. And if you want more of my opinions on these books, I will link the video for these down in the footnotes. I rated these books 4 stars. Number 4 is Crooked Kingdom. Yes, the sequel to 𝐂𝐈𝐍𝐿𝐒, which I read forever ago. But am I glad I did? Yes. In one word, this book is shippable. There are 3 main couples in this book, and I ship all of them so hard. And I think this is the greatest success of the book. Yes, other parts of the book are also great. But I have read few books that have more shippable ships than this one. And what, you may ask, makes these relationships so appealing? And I think it's because for every single one of these partnerships, the characters both support each other and challenge each other. You can see why each of these couples would work really well together and get along. They have similar interests, they have similar outlooks on life. But then, for every single one of these couples, you can also very clearly see instances where they do not get along, or where they challenge each other to be better, or sometimes corrupt each other to be worse. Where they have stark divides sometimes in their ideologies or methods of behavior. So for every single one of these couples, you can see how they would be better together, but also all the work that they're going to have to put in to be together. So every one of these ships is both satisfying and has earned drama. And you can't top it. Was I satisfied with how this book ended? No. Did I enjoy the entire ride? Yes. And I think one of the reasons that this isn't like my favorite book ever is honestly just like its subgenre, which is it's very heisty. There are so many moments where the book turns to you and is like, gotcha! It was part of the plan all along. So many moments, because there is always plans within plans within plans within plans, which does, yes, add intrigue. But you know what? It diminishes the feeling of stakes, because by the end of the book, whenever anything bad happened, I was just like, nah, that didn't really happen. That's just gonna be a trick. It's all part of the secret plan, I know it. And 90% of the time, I was right. And the 10% of the time that I wasn't right, I robbed myself of an emotional moment by having the expectation that it wasn't real. And then chapters later, I was like, wait a minute. That was real? That actually happened? If you read the book, I think you probably know what I'm talking about. I rated Crooked Kingdom 4 stars. Spot number 3 on this list goes to Full Moon, book 2 of the Dresden Files. In 3 words, this book is chaotic, pulpy fun. Harry Dresden, modern-day wizard, is called in to consult on some suspiciously wolfy-looking murders that are all happening during the full moon, and chaos ensues from there. The Dresden Files is one of my favorite series, and this is my favorite book in the series. I love how Harry, our main character, and Murphy, his friend in the police, reflect each other in interesting ways and play foil to each other in this book. I love our wide range of eclectic villains, but most of all, I just love how incredibly campy and pulpy this book is. It is a blast to read. I rated this book 5 stars, and if you want more detail on my opinions, check out my review video of Full Moon, which I will link in the footnotes of this video. And the top spot, numbers 1 and 2, go to books 3 and 4 of the Charley Davidson series. In 2 words, these books are snarkily hot. I skipped books 1 and 2 and started with book 3, but it was quite an experience opening up book 3 and pretty much getting, hello, I am the Grim Reaper, and I am accidentally having dream hookups with a demon, and I was on board. Our main character, Charley Davidson, was born with the ability to see ghosts and help usher them to the other side. But her day job is being a private investigator. And, you know, if you can talk to ghosts, solving murders isn't that difficult. The protagonist, Charley, is top-level snarky. She is constantly cracking jokes in good and bad situations. And it never stops, never stopping. Don't worry, there's plenty of drama-filled relationships, both friendship, familial, and romantic. And some nice high-stakes murder plots on the side. I'm very excited to continue the series, both the books I skipped and the continuing ones, because I get the sense that this series is going to blossom into so much more with her spot as the Grim Reaper. I rated these books 4 stars. And those are the last 17 books I read! Very happy with how those turned out. If you made it to the end of the video, leave a skull emoji in the comments for our Grim Reaper, Charley Davidson, and let me know what you think of these books. Subscribe for videos on Frizzle Fridays, and thank you for watching.